Hello there, Ray here, and with the recent Allays added into the game, new super compact item sorters are possible, but there are some major problems. We'll be taking a look at this new improved item sorter and how the Allays can be more fun for you. The cool thing is that the Allay can actually hold unstackable items, such as the Totem of Undying. This makes it great for sorting these items out, as it has two inventory slots, one which holds the main item, and one which it uses to pick up the new item off of the ground. And then we'll give the item back to the player, meaning that you can sort out every single non-stackable item in the game. This is extremely useful and something we couldn't do before. It could also tell the difference between most items unless it has different NBT tags, like this guy has a sharpness book and this book here is a thorns book. It just knows that it's a enchanted book and will go and pick it up. So it doesn't matter if a sword has enchantments on it or no enchantments or what type, it will pick it up if it has the same sword type. So if he has one type of tipped arrow and I throw down a different type, they're both considered tipped arrows and he'll do his duty. Because these guys can hold an entire stack, even dropping a whole bunch of items, it will pick them up and give them back to you. So now that you understand the basics of the Allay, we will now take a look at the Allay linking with note blocks and how I use this to make a compact item sorter. SemiBoy made me this amazing mod which when you would activate a note block near Allay, it will automatically show the link with this little blue line going from the note block that it is associated with to the actual Allay. Otherwise, it's not very easy to visualize this linkage. If you've been watching my live streams on Twitch as well as checking out my Twitter, you'll know that I designed two different types of Allay item sorters, one for the Bedrock edition and this super compact design for Java. Here is my Java design. You can see that we have the Allays sitting very nicely. If I turn on their hitboxes, you can see that they don't even need an entire hopper to fit. And I actually have some stairs over here keeping this little guy as well as this one near the center. So we actually have three Allays and I have some stairs and slabs keeping them from leaving it. Just above that, I have my water stream. This is where the items will be flowing down, and with the Allays so close, they can easily pick these up. Let's go ahead and give this a try so you guys can see how this all works. So we throw in an iron block, we'll see that it just vanishes when it gets to right about here, and that's because the iron block Allay, which is this guy over here, is close enough to see it and pick it up. Dev looked into the code of Minecraft and he found out that Allays will actually reach out 1.35 blocks to the side and as well as 1.6 blocks upwards to grab any items. This is not a very big area and that is why I have the Allays as close as possible to the water stream. This also keeps the design very compact and even if they move around a bit, they're still within range. And because I got them so tight in here, we're able to have three of them just for a single slice of the item sorter. Where in a conventional item sorter, you would only be able to sort out one item in this area. This row of Allays are also close enough to this note block here that if we would have it producing noise, they're going to synchronize with it. This is because Allays can drop off their items if they're within 3 blocks of the note block they're synced with. So these guys will drop their items and they get picked up by these hoppers and get put into the nearby chest. This is great because you can easily put this sorter up in the ceiling of your storage hall. And the note blocks are out of your way and you can just access each of the chests from underneath. Now this works all great and dandy. That is until you try to add in another row. And if we go ahead and turn on its note block, you think that this note block would then get linked up with these three. And that's not how it works. Allays can actually sync up with any noise making note block up to 16 blocks away. And since this one was first in making a noise, these guys and all other nearby Allays are already synced up with this one. And once they're linked with a particular note block location, they will continue to remember that for the next 30 seconds. And every time a note block gets powered, this 30-second cooldown is reset. This is a problem if you're trying to get Allays to actually sort things for you. Because what happens, all the Allays within a 16 block area will all get associated to just one note block, but they're all not within 3 blocks in order to drop off their items. So they'll very easily pick up items, but they will never drop them back out. So how can we solve this problem? Now in the past, we could use wool and kind of insulate the Allays from hearing other note blocks. So even though those note blocks over there are making noise, these Allays that are here in this boat wouldn't be able to actually hear that. And we could put a different one near to them and they would be connected to this one. But more recently, they removed this ability to isolate the noises of note blocks just by using wool. So instead of coming in and simply adding in some wool between each of the rows, we can't actually do that anymore. Now there wasn't really any reason given to why this ability was removed, but it was actually a moderately useful mechanic. But without it, the Allays become almost useless when making non-stackable item sorters. This is because in order to get one set of Allays to be linked up with the note block and a different set of Allays to be linked with a different note block, we need to keep these guys 16 blocks apart from each other. That way there's no chance of either of them hearing the opposite note block. But possibly there is a way around this. If you guys remember the old villager stacking iron farms from way back in the day, it was possible to get villagers to be associated with different doors, and then by moving the village far out and nearby, we could barely get the villagers to choose a new door each time and creating a new village. Something like this could also be done when it comes to Allays and their note blocks, because Allays, once they are linked with a certain note block, as long as you keep powering that note block, they will constantly remember that as the place to drop off their items. So this is how the idea works. First, we go ahead and we stop all notes from playing up here. Then we go down 16 blocks and we put in a note block just underneath of these guys. Then hopefully that note block can only reach far enough to get these guys up here to link with it down there. We then go ahead and do this for every single row of Allays that we have up above. So then each row would be attracted to their individual note block down below. After all rows have their own note block, then we go ahead and we can turn off one note block down here, and then go ahead and since all of the other Allays up here will be busy with their own note blocks down below, except for this one row, we can then turn on the nearby note block for this row here. So instead of those guys being attracted to that one down there, after 30 seconds they would forget about it, and then they would be linked up with this one. We could then repeat this process for every single group of Allays until we got each of them to be synced up with their own note block up above. This would be extremely tedious and could easily break if at any point these note blocks up here accidentally get turned off, at which point you would have to repeat the whole process all over again, and you might have to do this to hundreds of rows of Allays. Now, if this wasn't bad enough, this idea actually doesn't work with my setup, because the note block down below is either too far away where none of these guys can see it, or it's so close that not only this row can see it, but also other nearby rows. Now, it's possible for this to work if you did space these rows out a bit further. But let's look at some alternative ways that we could get this to work. Now, one would be as you bring in new Allays, you make sure they get assigned to the specific note block that you want. So let's say that we bring in this new Allay right here, and then we would bring them in directly in line with the note block. So the first one he would hear would be this closest one, and then once he is assigned to it, we would then bring him in and pull them directly into the hopper down here and close off the top. We'd have to do this with every single Allay that's put into the system, and we'd have to work from the backside and slowly fill in the sorter. This is even more tedious than the previous method, but there's even a greater problem if one of these note blocks would accidentally be turned off. Then this Allay here would then get linked up with a nearby one, breaking all the work you did, and you'd have to remove all the Allays and put them all in one by one, which might take several hours depending on how large your storage system is. But luckily we are still in the snapshots of this upcoming version, meaning that Minecraft can fix these problems before the full release. Let's look at some possible ways this can be fixed. One way we could do this is have the Allays always attach themselves to the nearest note block. The problem with this is that the Allay could accidentally fly by a note block that you don't want it to be linked up with, and then just suddenly link up with that one because it's then the closest. What if we just right click the Allay and then right click on the note block and make them attach? This way we could also make their attachment be infinite and will always be linked up. This could be problematic because you might not want the Allay to always be attached to that note block. You could destroy it, which would unlink it, but it would also unlink any other Allays you would have in the area. Also, the right click action is already being used to give the Allay items as well as remove items from it, and the left click action is used to attack. We could also have the Allay attach it to a lead, and then the game would recognize if you have a lead and you click a note block, would then be linked up with the note block. This does require a special item, the lead, but the same thing could actually be done without a lead. If you have no item in your hand and you right click the Allay, nothing happens, but that could be used to then click the note block and link them up. Problem is there's no real way to tell the player that he's actually selected a specific Allay and is linking it. And in Bedrock they do have vibrations that go out from the note block to the Allays, but it is very difficult to see these visuals. But with this mod we can easily see the linking occurring. A better way of linking could actually be that each allay can detect a specific note on the note block. Because there's 25 individual notes, we could then get allay to link up with a specific note, and it doesn't matter how many note blocks are around. Any ones that have that specific note, the allay will just go to the closest one of them. This could solve some issues, because then you could come ahead and program the allay with one note block at a distance. This could solve the main issue of the allay being attracted to a specific note block, but just happening to be too far away from it to drop its items at its location. Now it could still be attracted to, let's say, the musical note of D, and it's over here by this one, and this one's also D. It would just drop its items off here. But having the allay constantly search the area for different types of note blocks would be more strenuous than the current method, where the allay just memorizes a specific location and never changes that note block. Now, because each allay's cooldown is a little bit different, it would be possible to get some allays to forget about specific note blocks while the other ones still remember it, by removing the note block and then placing it back down after some have lost memory of it. The problem with this is you don't know when the allay's cooldown occur, and you can't visually see this in survival. Another solution might be just to turn the allay's seeking device off. So once you have allay linked up with the note block, then you could just turn it off. It's not constantly looking for new note blocks. Or maybe you can have it so that you can right click the allay to reset it. That way you can get him nice and close to whichever note block you want, then reset him, and then activate the nearby note block so that they're linked up with that specific one. Now, some of you guys suggested that allay should be able to hold different containers like barrels or shulker boxes, and then use that to go around and fill it up with items, and then drop those off at the player. This would be a really cool feature, but currently I feel like they really need to nail down the basics before they start adding in more. Like, one problem with allay is that it doesn't go very far from the player to pick up items, being only 9 blocks, which is really short, and it needs line of sight in order to be able to see the item and pick it up. Like, it won't pick up this shulker box, but once it is up in the air and sees it, then it can go ahead and pick it up. Draftboard suggested that the allay should be able to pick up anything that the player drops and return it to them once the allay is kind of like tamed. That would be really nice, because then you would have to give it a specific item pickup. Instead, it could just pick up anything around the area. But maybe also giving the player different options to choose what type of mode you want the allay to be in would even give more usability to this little fellow. Now, it's nice to have the lore of the allay being attracted to a note block, but if that wasn't the case, you could just have the allay be directly linked up with a hopper. The downside to this is that not everybody wants their items to go into hopper. Maybe you want the allay to drop them in like a water stream or near a rail system to get picked up by hopper carts. Another thing that is problematic is the cooldown time between allay picking up new items. Let's go ahead and drop an item to this guy, and if you see, once he picks it up, and if we drop him another item, he won't actually pick up this one. I'll go right on by. This is because it's a full 5 seconds before he'll pick up another item after picking up one. Having a stack of items can overcome this problem. If you guys have any cool ideas on how we can easily solve these problems, so let me know down in the comments. At the moment, allays have to be naturally found inside of structures. This is either the cages that are part of the pillager outpost, where there can be these guys captured just like the iron golems are, or the allays can actually be found inside of the prisons inside of mansions. Each of these cells can have up to 3 allays in them, so finding tons of allays will be difficult in survival, as outposts are relatively rare and mansions are extremely rare. My friend Dylan DC, who is an expert seed finder, found this amazing seed that has a total of 58 allays between the outpost and this mansion. The mansion itself has a total of 6 big jails, each containing 3 cells, but you won't get this lucky in your world. Unless this changes, using tons of allays instead of an item sorter is probably not realistic. You'll have to choose exactly which non-stackable items you want to be sorted. Do you guys think that they should make the allays obtainable in other ways? Now go check out this playlist all about the cool new things in 1.19, or this one on how I'm designing a automatic farm for every item in the game of Minecraft. If you'd like to see me design all these contraptions live, I do it every Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on my Twitch live streams, which you can find in the description. And thank you everyone who's followed me over there. Appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.